hello. This is Charlie Brash Sorensen,
And Peggy Becko.
the Daughters of Wisdom. Welcome to our next YouTube program. This is a follow-up program to our earlier program on minimalism, and I'd like to take a few minutes to remind the viewer about that program. We focused on living a simpler life, minimalism if you must.
So, all right, we have a limited amount of time here, Charlie. So we're going to give you just a couple of points to remind people about from the last talk that we had.
Okay, just 2 points then. First, we encourage our viewers to think about the things that you fill your life with, the value to how you live your life, and how they contribute to the quality of your life. That was one of the key points to our discussion on living a simpler life, minimalism. And the second one is, we really believe as a Daughters of Wisdom that choosing a simpler, a less complicated life is going to provide you some calmness and space in your life where you can have a broader perspective in how you live your life. And just as a reminder, the official title of that program was Leaving a Small Footprint. And today we're going to be completing that discussion by talking about the cluttered mental life.
So, what exactly then are we talking about with mental clutter? Well, literally, it's the habitual thinking about past events and possible future scenarios. What that it means is basically, it doesn't mean it's bad, but what it is you're kind of stuck. Somebody did you wrong, or somebody did something, or you just got locked into something, and you think about it constantly, and it goes through your brain constantly, like a little broken record. So that's kind of what we're talking about here today.
So I'm going to go first with an example because I have something that's been stuck in my mind since I was 18 years old, and I'm going to be 67 this week. So it's been a mental clutter pattern in my life for a long time. When I was 18, I made a bad choice, and I made a left-hand turn incorrectly, and I had a very bad car accident. And believe it or not, I still carry around this old mental clutter pattern, Peggy, and I don't like making a left-hand turn. In fact, I won't make a left-hand turn unless I have a turning arrow. And when Peggy and I began talking about mental clutter, this came up. And in fact, today, on my way here to do this recording, I found myself planning, not even consciously in the beginning, a trip that kept me from having to make a left-hand turn. And because we were doing this program today, I really have thought a lot about it.
And that's one of many. I mean, we go through life, and some of these we collect and collect and collect, and others we can kind of get past or get rid of. But the fact of the matter is, she's not alone. So here's my little example. So let's say you're out in traffic and you have somebody cut you off abruptly, and it's a dangerous situation, and it really both scares you and pisses you off. So now you've got this thing stuck in your head. Okay, so now you head on down, you continue on, you go to work. That's where you were heading. All right, so you get there, and it's just stuck in your head, and you tell a coworker, and then at lunch you tell another coworker, and then you tell another coworker. Okay, then you go home, you tell your spouse, you're complaining. You might even tell your kids, if they're a little older and can understand. So here you are. You've got this thing stuck in your head going round and round and round, and you don't really have a way to get rid of it. And if you do it to an extreme, then you're kind of creating negativity in your life, and you're making it so that you're very angry and upset constantly all the time. And that's not a good place to be. So you want to find ways to get out of it. So we've come up with a few little suggestions of things you might try to do to move past some of these things that are, granted, most of them are sort of like minor irritations, but they just stack up more and more.
Yeah. Well, one thing I guess I'd like to say before I came up with one suggestion for you is that we want to be clear that we're not talking about just negative things. We're using these two examples from us because they kind of stand out, and we've at least having a near accident is probably something most of us have experienced. So one idea, just begin to pay attention to how often you return to a particular subject. And let's make this a subject that you come back to for at least a week, because then I feel pretty comfortable that this might be something you could call mental clutter. So just begin to pay attention like I did today. I was a lot more conscious of planning my trip out here to Peggy's office to make sure I didn't have to make a left-hand turn that would make me feel anxious. So anyway, 1 week of rethinking something. So that's my first suggestion.
Okay, I have another one. And while you're thinking about this and kind of contemplating, what's happened and paying attention, I suggest you write down, maybe in a journal, or if you're keeping a journal on your computer or however you're doing it, and pay attention, write down what actually happened and use details. What did it feel like to you? What happened? Who were the people involved? I mean, anything. Was there a scent that, stuck in your nose and now you've locked it in and you associate that scent with whatever happened, that kind of thing. So pay attention to those details, and basically it can help you a lot, because when you become aware of what repeats, you can sometimes either calm it down or maybe move it on. So that's my second suggestion.
Okay. So my next suggestion is I want to use Peggy's example of the guy who cut her off. So since that was kind of a one-off experience, what I think you could do is to get rid of some of that immediate stress and kind of the possibility of keeping it from becoming mental clutter. You could say to yourself, and you can do this in your car while you're still driving to your destination, you can say on the in-breath, let, and then go on the out-breath. So on the in-breath, let, go. And then it's a way of directing your mind from starting to say, that guy should never have done this. He had no right. He almost caused me to run into him. So it's a simple thing that you can do. Let go. And when you say let go, you can't have anything else in your mind at the time. So I think Peggy's got a final suggestion.
Yeah, and might I add, you could find yourself saying let go a lot in this life, the way things are going. Okay, for the last suggestion that we're going to give for this particular talk is if you discover that you have a lot of habitual thinking, a lot of things that you're constantly replaying in your head like a little video or a recording or whatever you want to define it as, we here recommend using what we call sitting quiet. Yeah. Now, you might evaluate this with, or associate it, with, meditation. And a lot of people immediately back up and shy away when you say meditation, because for some people it simply doesn't work. And for other people, they're just kind of don't want to deal with cushions and positions and all these extra things that you're supposed to do. So when we talk about it, what we're referring to as sitting quiet is you just take a few moments, sit down or lie down, and just kind of relax. And you can let your thoughts just flow. Just try not to glom onto any particular thought and hang on to it. Just let them go. Let them go through your mind and pretty much try to ignore them. That's about it. And then just relax. And after a few minutes, just go back to whatever it is you're doing. And hopefully that will help flush out a little bit of this constant tension that you're building, because when you have these constant flowing things in your brain, you're always kind of on edge. You're always kind of either negative or sometimes positive result, but it's a thing where you're constantly on edge.
Yeah. Well, as Peggy said, we try really hard to stay away from words like meditation, which may have negative connotations on some people's part. And, sitting down quietly by yourself one time during the day, just for a few minutes, where you're really trying not to have lots of mental clutter going on, I think can have tremendous health benefits. So
yeah, and I think as Charlie is saying, it's just a matter of take a few moments. I don't care how short. You can keep it, no limits. There's no way to say,
Yeah,
let's do it for an hour or
definitely.
let's do it for 2 minutes. It's just whatever makes you comfortable. And kind of give yourself a break. Don't constantly make demands on yourself that sometimes you can't even fulfill them. And then you get all frustrated over that. So,
And think about it
Yeah.
repeatedly. And then you'll have to write in your journal.
that's right. Okay, so we're going to wrap this one up this week. And next week, we're going to have another talk, and this one's going to be on do no harm. So you might want to think about that during the week before we get together next week and see what your thoughts are on what do no harm means. And that's going to be on April 1st. And no, it's not an April Fool's joke. So do come and join us next week.
All right. Thank you.